But I will say, watching John Krasinski on wires, flailing his arm, yelling as he's shredded was also a lot of fun.
This doesn't look fun. Does not look fun at all. Wow.
I love that they actually, I know the filmmaking process is just, it is how these things are made, but just the idea of they put Jim / Jack Ryan on these wires in a green screen set, and Sam Raimi just said, now scream. Now your body's string cheese. Okay, it hurts. It hurts more than anything you've ever experienced. Scream. Bulge your eyes out, John. Do it, Jim. Do it.
I like to think that Raimi is secretly Dwight with a mask on. It'd be quite hilarious.
Cede control to me, Jim. I can do this, Jim. It's my office now, Jim. He does the fake run. And a huge thanks to the whole Ringerverse team, Joanna Robinson, Mallory Rubin, for getting that great interview clip from Michael Waldron.
Michael Waldron, great dude. Love that dude.
He's such an amazing interview guest, and they're amazing podcast hosts. Listen to everything from the Ringerverse. It's such a huge part of how I digest all these Marvel properties and everything. So I learned so much from just listening to them.
It's
just so wonderful. And yeah, let's talk about it. Welcome back to New Rockstars. The Fantastic Four made its MCU debut in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, followed quickly by its MCU adieu. John Krasinski, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic of Dimension 838, was unraveled in a string cheese, of course, but we are now finally learning exactly how that Krasinski cameo came to be, whether Krasinski will return to play Reed Richards again. Son of a Richards! I screamed so hard, my earbud popped right out. This is Inside Marvel, New Rockstar's weekly Marvel reaction show, and this week we are talking about the Fantastic Four in the MCU. I'm Erik Voss. Here with me is MT.
Dude, we are finally here. We have been waiting for Reed Richards for years now, in the MCU anyway, and finally, we got the fan cast of all fan casts, John Krasinski as Reed Richards. I'm happy.
Our dreams came true, and a moment later, it was a nightmare.
We've all wanted the Fantastic Three, and it's finally here.
But you know what's crazy now? All these interviews from Sam Raimi, Michael Waldron, everybody have finally confirmed how exactly John Krasinski was cast in this film, how they originally considered James Bond actor Daniel Craig for this cameo, and the studio's plans for Reed Richards in the future. Are one of these two actors going to be playing them? Are they going to go with a different actor for this Fantastic Four movie that's coming up in the pipeline? We'll talk about that. But first, be sure to check out all of our merch options over at newrockstarsmerch.com. There's a bunch of cool shirt designs based on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as well as some other merch items, including some adorable Garganto stickers. And you can still grab number 15 in our latest Obsession line of shirts, Shattered Madness. Support the awesome work we do here at New Rockstars and check out all of our merch options over at newrockstarsmerch.com. All right, MT, what are we talking this week on Inside Marvel?
Well, bro, we gotta ask it. Will John Krasinski himself return as Reed Richards in the future MCU Fantastic Four movie? What do you think?
Well, various interviews in recent days have revealed the Multiverse of Madness producer's intent by casting John Krasinski in the role of Reed Richards. Talking with Variety, screenwriter Mike Waldron said that he worked closely with Sam Raimi to bring Reed to life, but was not involved with the casting. And he said the question of his return is really a question for somebody else. And said in other interviews that it's above his pay grade. But in an interview with the LA Times, director Sam Raimi confirmed that casting Krasinski came directly from Kevin Feige. Raimi said, quote, he thought it would be great because the fans had, out of nowhere online, chosen John as a choice to play Reed if they ever made a Fantastic Four movie. I think it was some straw poll that had just appeared and people voted. And Waldron added, Kevin understood. That was the online headcanon, and it felt like a cool way to make that dream come true and then turn it into a nightmare. Now, when asked about the Krasinski casting, Moon Knight head writer Jeremy Slater told comicbook.com, I think Krasinski is a really cool choice if that's who they go with for whoever the real version of Reed that gets introduced. I think he'd be an awesome choice. We didn't get to see him do a lot of fun stuff in there. It was more of an introduction and sort of a glorified cameo.
Right.
Now, in all of these these interviews, Waldron and Raimi have confirmed that Wanda killing all of the Illuminati was something in Waldron's first draft of that screenplay. Waldron said that it was not in the outlines or the previs that they did for the movie. Waldron wrote it into the screenplay draft with no knowledge of who they would cast as Reed Richards. It was just really a kind of, let's see if they let me keep this in. And Sam Raimi read it and loved it. Feige approved it. And then it sounds like Feige then said, hey, let's put Krasinski in there as a nod to the fans who wanted Krasinski to play this role, and then we'll crush their dreams moments later.
Oh, boy.
Furthermore, we learned that Elizabeth Olsen, she did this amazing lie detector test.
Oh, I
on
love
Vanity
that
Fair's
video
YouTube
so
channel.
much.
Yeah, it's so great. And she said, and it's confirmed from the lie detector test, that she never met John Krasinski.
Right.
She's never met the guy. She never shared a set with him, confirming that what we all thought. Krasinski's cameo was shot on a private green screen set to, keep spoilers from getting out. And Olsen was not there for that shoot. This is something that was done late in the production process, maybe on reshoots, which would explain why these other actors in that scene don't really react with the horrified reactions one would have if they watched their friend's head implode or another friend get shredded into string cheese. And we also learned from Deadline's Justin Kroll that Krasinski wasn't even the first choice to play Reed Richards, but they originally wanted Daniel Craig, but that when there was an uptick of COVID cases, Craig backed out. He was living with his family in London, didn't want to expose himself or his family by traveling to the US to shoot this scene. So to me, the fact that they were considering the James Bond actor and then went with Amazon's Jack Ryan / everyone's Jim Halpert to be, he was the top fan cast choice, suggests that casting Krasinski was more of a one-time stunt by Feige, as opposed to like an indicator of their actual future plans for the character. Like if Patrick Stewart and Anson Mount aren't meant to be seen as the front men of those franchises in future MCU titles, I don't think we're necessarily meant to see John Krasinski as the MCU Reed Richards from here forward. But that doesn't mean that that's not going to be the case either. Like people obviously still love John Krasinski in this role. Not everyone loves him, but he seems to be a very popular choice. And, we now have this idea of variants. One, the 838 Reed Richards has died, but there are countless other variant futures out there where he could still play a living Reed Richards. I thought it was interesting how they showed Reed entering the frame through this square-shaped portal.
Right.
Just definitely evokes the way the TVA's time doors open in Loki. It's a different color,
Very
but
true.
the shape and the glow of it, it just suggests that Reed's tech might be later built upon by his descendant, Nathaniel Richards, a.k.a. Kang, a.k.a. Huey Remains, when he used his tech to build the TVA. I don't think we have to read into Jonathan Majors' race versus John Krasinski's race. These relatives are 1,000 years apart. We also don't know what other variants of Kang or variants of Reed Richards will look like.
Right.
The MCU Reed can really be any race. So setting aside how Feige looked at Daniel Craig and John Krasinski as deliberately martyr versions of Reeds, which of these two, MT, do you think would be the better Reed Richards if one of them is going to be the actual frontman in a future MCU Fantastic Four as variants from universes other than 838? And if not those two, what actors do you think would make great variants of Reed Richards to lead this upcoming MCU Fantastic Four film?
Yeah, I don't feel myself personally that Daniel Craig would make the best fit for Mr. Fantastic. I don't know. I just personally don't see it. And I did hear rumors that he could have been cast as Balder the Brave. And that,
I heard that too. That might have been another.
But that's obviously just a rumor, not confirmed. So I would love to see John Krasinski come back, and it would make sense for Marvel Studios to bring back Krasinski, considering that they just introduced this character, and that the 2015 Fantastic Four film still exists, and some people still saw it, and so a lot of people, still have them as all right, where's this team? We're doing multiverses, so where's this team? So
is anyone MT asking where Miles Teller
really
is in the MCU? Let's be honest.
But I just feel like introducing yet another variant after we just got these two would be kind of confusing for a lot of people. So I think that Kevin Feige, and with that quote of him knowing that the fan demand was for John Krasinski, and people, even though this Reed Richards did kind of approach the situation in a very not smart way, if people do want to see more John Krasinski, and I want to see the Fantastic Family, all of them, all six of them, just roaming about, it was sort of teased in Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, I think that it's going to be John Krasinski. However, if it's not going to be John Krasinski, I've been a big fan of, why am I blanking on his name? My God.
How big of a fan could you be if you're blanking on his name?
Okay, I think Dennis from Always Sunny, but I keep forgetting his actual name.
Rob, not Rob McElhenney. Yeah. Rob McElhenney plays Mac. Dennis is
Glenn Howerton. There we go.
Yeah, Glenn Howerton.
Yes.
I forgot his name because I heard that guy's a dick in real life. That's just only personal examples. I know people who worked for him and he was kind of a dick.
Oh no.
That's just personal anecdotal evidence. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to cancel the guy. I'm just, he looks the part. I'll give you that.
Reed Richards is he's kind of that as a personality. So maybe
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Actually, MT, let's talk about this. What characteristics are we looking for with Reed Richards in MCU? What character qualities? What appearance tics? What mannerisms? What psychological?
Like this dude, for me anyway, I feel like a good Reed Richards has to be obsessed with science and like, you know, to a really detrimental degree, to the point where like he ignores his family and his kids, and he prioritizes science over them. And I feel like that dynamic between like choosing your family over what you love to do is something that I really love to see in Fantastic Four comics. And so like, yeah, that obsession with science, but like also treating it like a sort of like an astronaut film. Like sort of like the Ant-Man films are an astronaut film, but they're more heisty astronaut films, and you're going down, whereas the Fantastic Four go upwards into space. So like I would love to see like a family adventure space, maybe even multiverse film where these families just adventuring on these like really wild just cosmic adventures, and that's why they haven't been here in the MCU. But what do you think? What do you want in a good...
You tap into such an important part of Reed Richards' character, MT, the obsession. Because, like, yeah, I think a lot of us can agree Reed Richards is definitely a nerd. A lot of people feel that it'd be great if he was played by a slightly older actor, kind of a daddy energy, a zaddy energy.
Big old
zaddy or daddy? Zaddy or daddy. I could go either way on that, but a bit of salt and that pepper in the hair, I don't have a problem with. That's why I like John Krasinski in the role. Yeah. You know, he's a dude who's like, he's probably in his 40s now, right? And I don't mind Daniel Craig in that role. I think Daniel Craig can play that. It's just, when you see Daniel Craig like in interviews, he is a thespian. He's got like this Christoph Waltz energy to him. He's like a kind of a goofball. So I think he can play different roles in the way that Krasinski can play different roles, but there is an obsession that is missing from both of them. You don't imagine either of them would say no to hanging out with their kids. And I think you need to see that. Reed Richards is a tinkerer. In fact, this is why I love rewatching classic films. Watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Richard Dreyfuss, his character, is exactly what we're looking for from Reed Richards. Someone who is almost unlikable. And I love watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind because it's like 70s Spielberg, before Spielberg started making every single one of his movies about the fact that he's a dad. And he's even said later, he's like, if I shot Close Encounters like in the 80s or 90s, it would have been a very different film. Richard Dreyfuss's character loses his mind. It is a story about obsession. When you are met from some kind of supernatural force, either from another dimension or from another realm or from another planet. And it suddenly forces you to recontextualize everything that was important to you, including your own family, your wife, your kids. And that is a story of Close Encounters. You do not like his character by the end of that movie. You're kind of like, you're a dirtbag. You're ruining your family right now. I think there is a tragic aspect to Reed Richards that could really be explored 100%. By an obsessive nerd. To that extent, a lot of people have been throwing around names like Dev Patel and Henry Golding. And I think they could totally play that nerd, that academic mindset to them. But the tragic nerd, I'm interested in actors like John David Washington, Hamish Patel. Watch Station 11 if you can on HBO. Hamish Patel crushes that role. Hurd. He is so hard to connect with, but your heart breaks when you watch him on screen and can play that inability to connect, but that desire to connect. But he has that bird's eye view of the context, which makes him weirdly apt to survive the crisis and the disasters of Station 11, but also kind of hard to connect with. And I think he plays that really well. I've thrown out in the past William Jackson Harper from
right.
The
That's
Good Place.
I do want to see that myself.
I think he'd be excellent as well. I mean, the guy's got a body for a superhero too. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest.
Let's be real.
But he's also a nerd who is like, you can imagine him tinkering and people are just trying to connect with him, but he is alone in his basement, just like branching out into the multiverse, trying to connect with multiversal versions of himself. I think it's very important to see the DNA of who his descendant, Nathaniel Richards, will become.
Right.
Like the worst case version of that. But you need to see the DNA of that obsession in this character. I'm really glad you brought that up, MT.
Oh yeah, for sure. William Jackson Harper would literally knock it out of the park as Reed Richards. Though I do want to see. This just popped up in my brain just now. Eddie Redmayne. I think he would really do a really great job because like he was in The Theory of Everything, right? Was that Eddie Redmayne?
Yeah, yeah.
And like so like he's got that like
same kind
obsessive
of thing,
science and like he kind of has the build for a Reed Richards. I think it'd be really fun to see Eddie Redmayne just go crazy with Reed Richards.
Yeah. And if we're going to go older into like Daniel Craig's generation, I really think like Andrew Lincoln has been thrown out there.
Yes.
He's definitely got more salt and pepper in that beard. Mm-hmm. But like watching him on The Walking Dead, how obsessive Rick gets about following his philosophy, even when it's like problematic for his community. Like every community, those people, the survivors join. It's like, why, Alexandria, do not open your gates to these people. You're all going to die if you let Rick and his friends in. And that's kind of like the risk of Reed Richards, is he is a guy who is just trying to find, in like a chaotic world, a safe haven, and often leads his loved ones off cliffs. So I think Andrew Lincoln could play a really cool version of that. But I think more than anything, more than just like the nerdy quality, more than just that wholesomeness that we want to see from Reed Richards, the obsession I think is there more than any other Marvel character. Like we've seen nerds before, we've seen Tony Stark as a paranoid futurist before, but Tony Stark is not nearly as obsessive as Reed Richards is. Like they're definitely risk taking. They're definitely daredevils in certain ways, like nerdy daredevils in the sense of like I'm going to build something that may blow up everything, but I don't care. But I think Reed Richards on a multiversal plane is that aspect expanded exponentially.
100%.
Well, let's talk about Anson Mount and Black Bolt's role in this movie and what that tells us about maybe other universes that the 616 MCU is branching out to. But first, we want to thank Helix Sleep for sponsoring this episode. When I dreamwalk across the multiverse, I do it from the comfort of my very own Helix mattress. No matter what nightmarish scenario my mind is transported to, my body rests peacefully and comfortably in this universe on a mattress from Helix. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and your sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. They have soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattresses great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Mattresses great for spinal adjustment to prevent morning aches and pains. Both MT and I have Helix mattresses. We love them. So just go to helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel, take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and you will get matched to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. Again, that's helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel. We also want to thank Upstart for sponsoring this episode. We've all been hit by unexpected expenses or bills before, right? And in times like that, it's normal to not know where to turn. Luckily, Upstart is here to help. Upstart-powered personal loans can help you pay down high-interest debt all online with simple and easy-to-understand payment terms. Upstart has helped over 1.8 million customers on their path to financial freedom. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, Upstart can help you get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. Rather than looking at just your credit scores alone, Upstart's model considers other factors like your income, your employment, other information provided in your loan application to find you a smarter rate for your loan. Check your rate in minutes for loans between $1,000 and $50,000 without impacting your credit score. You can even receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. So don't wait and check your rate today at upstart.com/Marvel. That's upstart.com/Marvel to check your rate today. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/Marvel. All right. Recently, Black Bolt actor Anson Mount tweeted, "Finally able to discuss this without providing too many spoilers. Getting the call from Kevin Feige was one of the most unexpected of my life. It was an honor and joy to finally work with Sam Raimi, who reached out to engage me on how best to do this. Beyond grateful for the experience. head exploding emoji.
Very appropriate.
The emoji game. Oh, chef's kiss. But MT, I wanted to ask you, do you think Black Bolt's cameo in Multiverse of Madness could mean the ABC Marvel series like Inhumans, as well as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, could finally be considered MCU canon?
Absolutely. Like, as soon as I saw Anson Mount, like, his face, I was like, you know what? Finally, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon somewhere within the MCU multiverse. It's not canon within the main timeline that we were living in, I don't believe. I don't think that, you know, the Inhumans or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were factoring into the overall scope of, like, what's going on within the American government and all that stuff. That never happened in the main MCU. I think that what we're going to see in, like, shows like Loki, maybe even Quantumania, possibly, that, you know, characters like fan favorite characters like Quake, Agent Coulson, you know, like all of them, like Fitzsimmons, like they're all going to come back and just be like, hey, here's, we're going to cross over eventually, or we're coming to Secret Wars. Because like we all know that Secret Wars is coming, and that the Marvel live action universe has had so many different faces, and like one of the most beloved, and like my personal favorite is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot. And like, actually, one of the first times I cried at a piece of media ever was when during the Spies Goodbye scene of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna miss you. This is so sad. Because I loved, you know, that whole team, and like, there's just, I don't know, like, just a weird vibe. Like, after so many seasons, you're just like, all right, that's a Marvel family there. So it'd just be really great to see them pop up in Loki, which is, I feel like, an appropriate show for them to pop up there. But yeah, what do you think about what this means with Anson Mount and Black Bolt and the Inhumans? Yeah,
someone tweeted me hoping that seventh seat on the Illuminati dais could actually be Phil Coulson from another universe, or from the E38 universe.
I would love that.
And I love that idea. Like, by the end of that series, especially, Coulson was such like an elder. And you know, my thinking is, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. final season, they've already been MCU canon, at least within the multiverse. Like, it's still not sure exactly within the 616 timeline. You know, that has not been answered yet. MT, you know, the two of us are gonna get some crazies on Twitter yelling at us for not wholesale adopting every single episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as MCU canon. Nothing will be good enough for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stands. I think the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stands on Twitter are becoming the worst bullies.
Yeah, they can definitely be pretty incendiary.
It's not enough that we just say it's in the multiverse. They're like, no, it was in the 616 timeline. How dare you? How dare you destroy my fandom? How dare you insult me? Like, they are so triggered by everything.
Yeah, they're very passionate about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But like, it is.
But hey, we love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. And I love that final season. I love how they used the quantum realm and the timeline logic. They answered more about timeline logic than Avengers Endgame did, which I have to just applaud Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for doing that. So absolutely, they exist in the multiverse. Let's just be happy with that.
Yes,
you know,
it's really good news, and they're going to cross over eventually.
Yes, absolutely, and especially when they introduce the fact that Black Bolt is a keeper of the Terrigen Mist. The fact that they said keeper of the Terrigen Mist is so important because it establishes the logic by which the Inhumans exist and the way Quake was created.
Right.
You know, from Daisy to Quake, being wrapped in the Terrigen cocoon and getting her powers. Like, that's now MCU canon within the multiverse. And within the 838 universe, Inhumans exist, Terrigen Mist exists. And it could even, just the fact that they introduced that term, I think that's enough to even say that it could exist in the 616 universe.
Oh,
and part of me is holding out hope that Miss Marvel brings in the Terrigen Mist into that world. And I know I'm sounding crazy, but when you watch the Miss Marvel trailer, there is just a lot of fog. They have a lot of mist. Now, it may just be an aesthetic choice. The director of that show just gets a fog machine and they're like, and action, fog, cue fog. Okay, great, cool. But I'm like, there's a lot of fog here. Some of that could be Terrigen fog. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I would just love, even if that's not how Kamala Khan gets her powers, I would just love if they introduce the concept of Terrigen Mist. Because I think it is a cool, texturally different aspect of the world that I think we need to see on screen in live action.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like, that was one of my biggest, the happiest things that I was about when I was watching Multiverse of Madness was the Terrigen Mist mention, because like, it is huge. And I think that this, in my opinion anyway, this sort of means to me that Miss Marvel will eventually have her comic book accurate powers. she just needs that Terrigen catalyst to activate, you know, whatever like rainbow powers that she has in the show will probably be like actually embedded within her DNA, which will allow her to do the similar thing, but with her actual skin and bones and make it really gross looking.
So you think it's going to be something that's already in her biology as opposed to something external?
I honestly feel like, you know, the energies that she's using in the show will end up being part of her biology when she does come in contact with the Terrigen Mists. I think that she will eventually find these Terrigen Mists. And like we know from Spider-Man Far From Home that there are Kree sleeper cells on Earth. And like
that's right.
That's sort of how the Inhumans sort of got things going, was because of Kree intervention on Earth and early society messing with humanity and trying to make people better. So for all we know, those sleeper cells that they refer to them as could be entire Inhuman societies almost, maybe run by the Kree, because like that's sort of what sort of happens for a little bit anyway in the comics. So yeah, I definitely feel like that these Terrigen Mists are coming to the MCU and they're going to factor into Miss Marvel's evolution, most likely after the Marvels, I feel. Because I feel like the Marvels is like sort of explaining, it's going to be like the Rainbow movie. It's like, it's bioluminescence, the movie. It's like glowing girls, let's do it. And then after that, it's like, all right, here's Miss Marvel. And like, we just wanted to explain how her powers worked before we actually transformed her outright. So anyway.
I like how your brain works, MT. And I hope that Kree sleeper cell line gets justified at some point. I assume Secret Invasion is going to dig into a lot of that. You know, sure. I think we're going to have Krull sleeper cells and Kree sleeper cells. I think there's a huge shadow war that's been going on Earth and several other planets between, it's like, you know, the Americans, right? Like the Cold War was not that cold. There were spies murdering each other and murdering people and murdering intelligence officers. And I think that's what's been happening in the Secret Invasion. I think there's been a shadow war going on. And yeah, I'm just wondering still, it seems like based off of that trailer that Kamala Khan gets her powers from these bracelets.
Right.
And it seems like it's a bit of Kree tech. You know, I just don't know if mist is going to be part of it. It seems like we put on these bracelets. It's almost like a 10 rings kind of thing, or some other kind of bling, some other kind of jewelry or apparel we put on. And I'd much prefer if it's not the mist, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
I just think like mist should get introduced. If it doesn't create Kamala Khan's powers, I would hope that someone, whether it's like, you know, Cameron, maybe that's where he gets hit with the mist, you know, and he becomes his comic version of the hero that he is. I don't know if it's going to be given to her by Skrulls or by Kree. I think Kree are going to be the bad guys of the Kree-Skrull war in the MCU.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be suggested that the way Carol Danvers got her powers, the source is going to be Kree at the end of the day.
Yeah,
just
I believe
the actual medium of it remains to be seen. But hey, why don't we leave it there for this episode of Inside Marvel? I can't wait to talk more about Miss Marvel with you and with other people on the channel, MT. It's going to be a very interesting world. I think we have a release date for She-Hulk coming later this summer.
She-Hulk.
So we got a bright future ahead here at Inside Marvel. Don't forget to check our great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow MT at MasterTainment. Subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.